Hi, everybody. Tom Cruise time. It's Tom Cruise time. It's Tom Cruise
Again.
time. Last week, and we're gonna be on cruise control for about a month or
Well
so
done.
now. Yeah, thank you. That wasn't hard to do. Because we did the Top Gun movies last week. Go check that review out as well as those movies out if you haven't done so already. But the reason why we're on cruise control is because Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, maybe not, comes out in May. And so we thought we would review all the Mission Impossible movies. So we are going to go back into the late 90s and the early 2000s with Mission Impossible and Mission Impossible 2. By the way, Mitchell Lee, Brandon 2, Tommy Grant, Jersey Nerds Productions, Press Play Action, all that bullshit. Guys, let's talk about some Mission Impossible. Real quick before we get started, have either of you seen either of these movies before?
I have seen the first one multiple times, and I have never seen the second one, and I know why. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was-
Same.
Brandon?
I've seen the first one. I had not seen the second one. I think I've seen the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, and the seventh one. So we'll
basically
see
every single one except for the second.
in the third. So I was pleasantly surprised by the first one, I guess, a little bit. The second one, we'll get into it.
So, I had seen both of these movies. My opinion of both of these movies was negative going into this, right? I did not like the first movie. I found it boring. I found the second movie not boring, but worse. And let's start with the first movie, Mission Impossible, directed by Brian De Palma, of all people, the director of Scarface, not exactly the person that you would think to do Mission Impossible necessarily, given where it's gone, but starring Tom Cruise, John Voight, John Reno, Ving Rhames, uh, Emmanuel Biarte. I have no idea how to say her last name. This was a giant hit for Paramount in 1996, $80 million budget, $457 million worldwide. Let's go ahead and get the box office trivia out of the way. This was the number 3 highest grossing movie of 1996. What were the two that beat it?
Well, it wasn't Crash, that's for sure.
No, it wasn't Crash, Brandon.
Sorry, we were talking about 1996 movies before.
Oh my God. No, that is incorrect, sir.
Oh man. Well, I know Tin Cup came out in 1996, but that was like a cult movie, right? So that
No, Brandon, it was not Tim Cup.
That's a great sports movie. So
Tin Cup, not Tim Cup.
yeah, 10.
Sorry.
Sorry. Gotta enunciate. 10
I got the NFL
Cup.
draft on my mind. Tommy?
I got no idea. I'm not very well versed in the mid-90s.
I will give you hints.
Marvin's Room.
No, it's not Drake.
Twister?
We got one. We got one.
Right.
I know you're using Google, but we got one.
I'm not looking up the. I literally just typed in 1996 movies, and
I'll give you another hint.
So I'm
another disaster-ish movie.
Disastrous movie.
I mean, no, it's not that movie.
I imagine what it would have had to be for you to say, no, I won't say that. After you said Crash and Marvin's Room.
It was Titanic, but I knew that, like, Titanic.
That would have been a better guess than Marvin's Room.
But I knew it wasn't, like, the Titanic, so that's why I didn't.
Yeah, that threw me off, too. Why was there a fucking Titanic movie before the other Titanic?
Independence Day.
Oh, okay, well.
That hasn't even come up. List on
I was going to say that's
the highest grossing movie of 1996
I will
was
say,
Independence Day.
Did we see, this is just like a complete, like, off-topic conversation. Did we see the Aliens, the new Aliens movie? They have like a callback to Independence Day. Did anyone see that? I think it might have been Predator.
Are they looping
that? It was a new Predator movie. Sorry, it was a new Predator movie.
There's like looping that into the canon?
Apparently, we'll see. We'll see. Apparently, it's in the trailer. So, if anyone wants to know, maybe Independence Day, Alien, and Predator are all in the same universe, which would be
Well,
Very interesting. But yeah, Mitchell, Independence Day.
No, we're
Also
talking about Mission
another
Impossible.
no, also another franchise that just didn't know when to stop. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and that one. Well, this one didn't know. What are
I'm
you talking
kidding.
about?
I'm
That is not
kidding.
fault. Just shut.
it only had one sequel.
Yeah,
It
well,
has two
man,
technically.
no, it has two, or it has one sequel. But that
Yeah.
sequel is horrible. It's so bad.
Well, maybe
But
they were
anyway,
gonna make a second one, and they were like, maybe we shouldn't now that we have this
yeah,
one.
we don't need to bring any
As we
more.
digress into other movies.
Right.
Exactly. So
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible 1996. I liked this movie a lot more on rewatch. Um, I still don't love it. It's a movie that I never have any desire to really watch again. And it is almost kind of like watching the first Fast and Furious movie versus watching them now.
You, you know, it's interesting you say that because watching the first two movies, I kind of quickly drew the comparison to Fast and the Furious and the fact that the story and the plot doesn't have much context there, but it's more of a flash and wow factor kind of movie that really sucks you in. And it seems to just be like every movie, every sequel is how can we up what we did in the last one? What new flash and wow can we bring to this movie? And obviously, we know, obviously, no spoiler, but going to the future Mission Impossible movies, the stunts just get wild and wilder, just like the Fast and the Furious movies have.
Yeah, I'll save it for the second one in terms of stunts. Just because I fully and like was kind of blown away about by one of the stunts, but yeah, with this first Mission Impossible, I mean I'd obviously seen it before, but I forgot like how really there is no plot. I guess like there is a plot, but it's like very like thin, and it's just like we're trying to solve this like one thing,
It was kind
and
of
then
like
that's it. Like you're just
they
in this
unleashed the plot in like the first 5 minutes and the first 20 minutes in the movie,
right,
and then it was just kind of
and then it's like solve the plot now
just
or
like,
solve the
all right,
puzzle.
we're just gonna have him run around doing random shit and then solve it in the last 10 minutes of the movie with the
Which
crazy stunt.
I don't think they did a good job of like he solved the puzzle. They just like said that he solved the puzzle. They were like, oh,
Yeah.
he just knew. And I was like,
Are
okay.
you talking about this movie?
I feel like I am. Yes.
It's
Yeah,
probably for
I-
both.
At the
I
very
kind of-
end of the movie, they're just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I knew the whole time. And it's like, what are you talking about? You
Well,
knew
what the hell were we doing with
Yeah.
all this stuff going
yeah,
on here?
exactly.
I definitely feel like there's a charm to, I don't want to say older movies, especially for a movie that came out in the mid to late 90s, but a lot of movies that came out like pre 2000 were very simplistic as far as like, look, we're going to lay out what we're trying to do and then do it. And I kind of got into that. Like it's very straightforward, and I had fun with that aspect of things. I definitely think that there are a little bit too many characters in this movie for me personally, and there are more characters going down the line in other Mission Impossible movies, but those stories feel grander
Yeah.
than this one
I
does.
wouldn't say there were too many characters in this movie. I think there was too many characters that had no purpose.
Too many
because-
characters I didn't give a shit about.
Yeah,
Let me
because
rephrase
the whole beginning, you have. I mean, again, R.I.P. Emilio Estevez in this movie.
Yeah, Mitchell didn't even
You have
mention
this whole
Emilio
team-
Estevez in
You
like
have this
the
whole
people
team
we
of
called
people
out.
that you're like, all right, this is going to be his crew for the movie. Like, all right,
Right.
and you see Emilio Estevez, like, oh, that's a familiar face. He's a pretty famous actor for that time, and he gets killed off in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm stuck with all these other people, with the exception of John Voight, that I don't know or give a shit about.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I think I cared more about Emilio Estevez's character and just like what he was doing than like anybody else. Because it was like at least it was kind of interesting like what he was doing. Like he was like he was like the tech guy. Like yeah, I don't know. It just felt like he was more interesting. And yeah, I don't know. Was this before or after Jerry Maguire? Because I just want to get like a timeline.
This was
of
the
like,
same year as Jerry Maguire. This
I know
came
it's the
out.
same year.
This
Was
came
it
out in the
before or after?
summer. That came out around Christmas time.
Okay,
So this
so
was before.
I just kind of wanted to see like where Tom Cruise was box office wise, because I feel like Jerry Maguire probably.
I think the
Well,
90s.
this was a decade after Top Gun, so
yeah, that's
he
fair.
was
I think
big
Top Gun
money.
was what kind of launched him into success, and the
Right.
90s is where he kind of thrived.
Yeah,
started picking up
So
fame.
yeah, I just think like obviously I just don't think they leaned into like using him enough, or really like using any of the characters. Like I kind of agree with Mitchell that there's too many characters, but like there's not like a central focus plot, which is like part of the like Tommy, you were saying they lay it out in 20 minutes and then they're like, all right, now we're just gonna do a bunch of random stuff until we get to the end. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, just for context, Rain Man, Born on the 4th of July, A Few Good Men, The Firm,
Okay,
Interview with
so
the Vampire. So he was major
he had
money
box office,
in,
yeah,
in the ni-
and
in the
that makes sense
90s.
because he even had his own production company at that point. Like I think his
Yeah.
production company is like in this, like produces this movie, so like it makes sense. But at the end of the day, I'm just thinking to myself, like if he has that much box office appeal, then just like make the entire movie about like Ethan Hunt and just like Ethan Hunt solving like this intricate puzzle instead of making it like so straightforward and almost like presenting it in a way that's like, well, we know what the issue is, now he has to solve it. Like I don't know, it just seemed a little weird. And I don't know if they were like basing it off of the TV show or basing it off of like source material.
I
But
think that a
yeah,
lot of this movie is a really good jumping off point as far as bridging the gap between the show
right.
and what the movies would become.
Well, that's something
And
I didn't realize there was a
because
show.
yeah, and
From
it
the
was a
60s,
show
yeah.
in the 60s. And so with like
Okay.
John Voight and that, John Voight wasn't in the show, but I feel like with his character of Jim Phelps,
He's a lot more
you
prevalent
you
in that.
definitely have a little bit of kind of that tie to, hey, if you liked the show, we're going to kind of ease you into what we're doing now with Tom Cruise.
Okay.
But
Oh, okay, that
this
makes sense.
is this is very much like
It's like
this
an
is
extension of the show almost
yeah, you
in a
can
way.
kind of view it as that because Tom Cruise, I think, is the movie. Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
Tom
Yeah.
Cruise is what makes the movie good. Ethan Hunt's character is what makes the movie good. And I do think that opening up with basically his entire team dying, as far as he knows, to start things out, really, because part of Ethan Hunt's character, as you'll see moving forward into the movies, is that there is no sacrifice that he's willing to make as far as like, I'm not willing to give up a member or two of my team for the mission. I'm
Yeah.
always going to try to do both. I'm going to make sure none of my people die, no one else gets harmed, and so that's going to make me do these ridiculous things to try to
Yep.
get that done. And so I think that that starting off point by seeing as far as he knows, because we see that it's kind of a ruse later on, all of his team dying really does a good job to set that up moving forward. And so
Yeah.
if you hadn't watched the Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible movie, but had seen the later ones, you would just think that, okay, well, that's part of his character, but it kind of has a little bit of an origin to it, which
Mm-hmm.
I definitely liked. Um, I yeah, too many characters that I just didn't really give a shit about. I mean, the character of Claire. I think there's a reason we haven't really seen that actress too much.
Was that the
She
girl that was with
She was the
Cruise
one who was on the bridge that
who
just shows up at
survived?
his apartment. He's has that whole like episode of freaking out,
Yeah.
like, how the
Okay.
fuck are we here? You were
To be
banned.
honest, I forgot her name because she's just so like
Very bad.
forgettable.
And honestly, I
I
think
hate to
that
be
was one
mean
of like
about
the
it,
best
but
scenes in the movie, like acting wise, like Tom Cruise having that whole meltdown of like,
right. They're
who
all
died?
dead.
How are you
They're
here?
all
Like,
dead.
you see Tom Cruise not just giving like the flash and smile the whole movie, and actually doing a little bit of acting.
I'll yeah. Mitchell's right. She's forgettable.
Thank you.
She's not good. And honestly, it sets up like the whole. She's definitely not telling the truth. Like there's something going on here, but
Yeah.
like you're also like, is she like everybody on her team? Like someone obviously backstabbed them, but I do think like putting together who backstabs him or like does it is a little challenging at first, but then it starts to get like, okay, like I think I know who it is, but we're just not sure. And maybe that's my biggest gripe with the movie. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I feel like they don't show like Cruz figuring it out on screen, which kind of bothers me.
They do sometimes, like for example, when he opened up that Bible and saw that the Drake Hotel
Oh, okay,
was
that's
in
true.
there.
That's true.
So they did that from time to
It
time,
was
but
like
yeah,
little bits of it. Yeah.
they definitely do that. Like Tom Cruise just kind of, I don't want to say info dump what you know, but just kind of like, I knew that you were going to do that because this and that. But also, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, we get the whole the introduction of Luther Stickle,
Yeah.
Ving Rhames, who is a character that we're going to see throughout the
He
franchise.
becomes integral to the franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but with the way that the action scene on the train was done,
Mm.
I know that it happened before this movie, 17 years before, but it reminded me of that scene from the Wolverine where they're on the train and the Yakuza are coming after Wolverine. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys remember that.
No, no, I do. Yeah. It's a good callback.
But this scene also does what they have a great job doing with Ethan Hunt in any of these is that he does these insane stunts, but he's always scared shitless doing them. And I think that there's something that like when Vin Diesel or when anyone in Fast and Furious like
It's very
take
obvious it's
take
green
take a
screen.
car to take a car to space, they're just like, yeah, we're gonna take a car to space, no big deal. You
Yeah.
know, there's a genuine sense of fear when Ethan Hunt does these things, and
You
I
just
think
wrap that
that
bitch
is
up in styrofoam.
exactly, yeah. Um, this is something that I think is a key part of the Mission Impossible franchise, and we really see it first with that train sequence,
Yeah.
which is definitely over the top. For the 90s, I think it looks
So,
excellent.
so is that CGI? Because part of me like not that like the Fast and Furious movies are like bad CGI or anything like that, but it's almost like you're saying like they're not scared. It's almost because like there is no like death involved in like what they're doing. I mean that's probably not accurate. Like there probably is some like level of edge to it, but like it just feels like in the Mission Impossible movies, like when you hear about what Tom Cruise does, you're like, oh, like he's actually doing it. So I was gonna ask, like, that train sequence, is that actually a train going like 150 miles an hour or something like that, and like he's actually having to hang on to a train? Like that
All
seems
right, so
certifiably insane, but it
so I've
might be
got
true.
I've got the read up on this.
Okay.
The Tom Cruise wanted to use France's high-speed train for filming, but the TGV, which is the France rail service
Yeah.
authorities, objected. Um, they were trying to find out which railroads to use, which rail lines to use, and Cruise decided to wine and dine the TGV, and eventually were given permission to use that. For the actual sequence, Cruise wanted the wind powerful enough that it could blow him off the train. Cruise
Right.
had difficulty finding the right machine to create the wind velocity that would look visually accurate before remembering a simulator he used while training as a skydiver. The only machine of its kind in Europe was located and acquired, and Tom Cruise had it produce winds up to 140 miles per hour so it would distort his face. It was done against the blue screen,
Yeah, yeah.
but he was up there doing most of his own stunts, and
But he could have
yeah,
been blown off the train that wasn't moving, but still, like, yeah, he could have been blown
yeah.
off.
Say what you
But
will about
that's
Tom
what I
Cruise,
feel
but
about
he
it,
is
right?
dedicated to these movies. Like he
Right, there's
loves like,
dedication there. Like, yeah,
and I think that also goes to like what Mitchell was saying earlier, about, like how '90s movies are a little bit more kind of like simplistic. I think it's also more simplistic because this is pre CGI, and you had to really rely on these kind of practical effects. So when you
like
have an
blue
actor,
screen, green screen, yeah, yeah,
yeah, when you have like directors who want to like actually do something good with it, and actors who want like Tom Cruise who want to actually do the stunts themselves and make it look realistic, it goes a long way, and you definitely see that in the movies because when you have to question like, holy shit, was that stunt real or not? Like
right.
that's how you know it's realistic.
Mitchell's biggest point, though, like Cruz looks like he could die doing
Yeah,
these stunts, which you don't get a lot of that from action movies. You just don't like whether it's
No,
because the stunt double does it or whatever. You just don't get like
because
people
Tom Cruise is actually risking
is
his
actually
life.
doing it. Yeah, yeah. So I will say that level, like in the movies, whatever Mission Impossible movie it is, you see a stunt and you're like, well, yeah, that look looks real because it's probably like actually on his face because like he could theoretically like not survive this stunt. And it's kind of yeah, it's kind of insane when you think
I
about it.
feel like that helps him get into character because that is literally his mission impossible is how do I pull off the stunt without dying?
Right, that's true. And the stunts get more and more insane
Yeah.
as Mitchell like pointed out. Like they get more and more crazy
Yes.
as the series goes on. I do like the fight scene on the train, Mitchell. To circle it all back, I think it's well done. I think like the way they both fight on the train, and also like even the sequence where like she's the one character Alex is like it's in this briefcase and then she calls him, she's like he's in the carriage department. Like I think all of it is like really well done and set up really well. And the one thing I find super funny about these movies is throughout people just rip off these masks that are like so human like and so it looks so real, and it's like you never really know like who's wearing a mask and like who is who throughout these movies, which I think is kind of funny if you think about it.
I'm gonna talk about more in the second one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think in the second one it gets even more ridiculous, but in the first
What
one
you guys?
we had a couple
Two
of them.
questions. One, what did you think about John Voight's character? Because
Ooh, okay,
Jim Phelps was the main character from the TV show,
yeah,
and he's basically the villain of the movie, so to
Interesting.
speak. So I
yeah. I
think
don't.
that can definitely turn off fans of the show. But I just don't think John Voight's a very good actor, and I don't think he's very good in this.
I I don't really have like I think that was probably the weakest part about the first two movies is the villains weren't that good.
Yeah,
I don't really have much else to say besides that. Like he was in for only a little bit of the movie, and the scenes that he was in, Tom Cruise was kind of the main center of attention anyway. So it's like you have a villain who most of the audience doesn't really give a shit about and doesn't have anything invested in. Like,
so I think if you're a fan of the TV shows and like let's say you're like 30, 40, 50 years old when you go to see this movie, you're probably a little turned off by it. But in the end, I actually think it's a good way to like I guess pass the torch and like continue Mission Impossible and like almost extend it because it's saying like okay, so Voight's character like Phelps obviously doesn't like Ethan Hunt. And like I haven't seen the TV series and like I kind of want to watch it now that I've seen like the movies,
yeah,
but
now that I know it's a TV show, I kind of
in
watch.
the yeah, in the grand scheme of things, Tommy, I think like passing the torch almost being like, well, Phelps like tried to kill him because like he just doesn't like Ethan Hunt, or whatever the reasoning is. I just think the villain in like the reasoning behind the villain was just very like I don't know how to put this like not well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did it feel like kind of like thin that Phelps like just would all of a sudden was just like screw the IMF like I'm here to make money or something. Like I don't really know what his like motive is. He's just like I don't like Ethan Hunt. I don't like the IMF. So screw these guys. And he's just like I killed your whole team. Like sorry, bud. And then he's like, oh I also like Claire. Like I seduced Claire. So here we are. I don't know. It just felt like very thin, and it was like there was no depth to it at all. And I don't know. I'm sure that annoyed some people. Did that annoy you, Mitchell? Like I don't. Have you seen the TV series? Like I don't know if you
No, I
like the
haven't.
TV series or
I
anything
haven't
like
seen it.
that, but I don't know. It just seems weird to me. It just seems
Quick side note
like
to
a
the
weird
TV
IMF
show.
thing.
There
Yeah,
was
go ahead.
apparently two shows. There
Oh,
was the original show that took place between 66 and 73. And then in 1988, there was a spin off show that takes place 5 years after the original show, and it lasted for 2 seasons.
okay.
So it's
But
got some
like
depth to it that we don't know about.
But like Mitchell was saying, there's obviously like they're trying to like extend it a little bit, or like
Yeah,
at least like have Phelps involved, and then I guess like kick Phelps out of the movies or kick him out of the franchise. I guess. But at the end of the day, the villain was just weak because I don't. What's the motive behind it? Like you just don't like the people? Like I don't know. I feel like there could have been more of a motive.
Money.
Am I like mean to like be like there needs to
No,
be more of a
I
motive
truly,
here? But
I didn't really fully understand what his motive was in this movie.
Money.
yeah, money. Like
But it's just like that's such a
that's
shitty
everybody's
motivator for
motive.
him.
That's everyone's motive. Like
Yeah,
if you're gonna
to
say that, at least be like, I'm making a crap ton of money. He was making like $10 million.
yeah,
Is that not a lot of money?
I mean,
especially back in the '90s. Yeah, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, could have
You
been
could buy a
37
house
mil.
with like $2.
Well, I thought it was funny. He was trying to steal the Europe list for 6, and then she was like, "I'll give you 10 for the whole list." And I was like, I feel like you should get a little more than 10 for the whole list. To be honest here, but yeah, whatever. Oh man.
All right, we want to grade this thing?
Yeah, I got nothing else to say about this movie except I think my favorite scene of this movie that actually like got me invested in the movie was towards the end, and that was the whole rappelling from the ceiling in that secret room.
Mm-hmm.
That was honestly the best scene of the movie that I really enjoyed. But out of that, I give it a B minus 70%.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the low person on this. I'm gonna give it B minus 34%,
Oh,
34.0 to be exact.
Oh. Let's see. Let me find this. So you said that you're the low
I
one on
mean,
this?
unless you're lower than a B minus, I mean,
Where? Ooh, I get to be the good guy on this. I'm a B, 33.46. So I get to be the hero, just barely for Mission Impossible, which is crazy because I gave it like a C minus when I watched it before Fallout came out in 2018, and
that's a bit hard.
I struggled to get through that movie.
mm.
I guess it just moved a little bit better. It's also under 2 hours, which helps.
No, that does help.
Helps a lot.
That does help because I don't think you need this movie to be like 2 hours and 20 minutes or what. I don't think you need it to be long.
No.
I
And
will say it's interesting looking at like the directors and then also like the screenwriters for all the movies. So like Robert Town and then J.J. Abrams I guess takes like 3 and 4. Yeah, we'll just
Abrams
get
took
to it.
3.
Okay, he took 3. Okay. Yeah, so John Woo did the second one, and we'll get into the second one now. But
Let's talk about the second one here. Yeah,
but yeah,
this was.
They all feel weird, right? There's like a distinct difference between a couple of them, but like these two feel very like similar. But it's like they took the
No.
worst. Oh, okay. Go
I don't
ahead.
think these two feel similar at
You know,
all.
You didn't let me
Hell
get to my
no.
point, but I
Get
guess
your point.
they took the worst parts of one and just amplified it in 2 and said, let's take out all the good parts.
I don't even know if I agree with that. This just feels like a wildly different franchise.
No, fair enough.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is
John
directed...
Woo just like a completely different director than
yes.
De Palma? Like, is that
yeah.
what it is?
Oh yeah. Well, John Woo made the movie he made before this. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. Is it good? Hell no. Is it one of the most fun movies I've ever seen in my life? Absolutely. That's Face Off.
Oh yeah.
Face Off is just
that is a classic, a classic like clusterfuck of a movie that you can't not enjoy.
Now
Which
it makes
also,
sense
given
that
the
he
premise,
made this movie.
Yeah, given the premise of Face Off with all the masks and stuff, you're like, oh, let's get that guy to make a Mission Impossible movie. It's
right because they rip off masks.
You know what? It does explain one of the things that I truly hated about this movie.
The mask.
And that's the fact that they use that to death. Like in the first movie,
I forgot how much they used the mask in the early movie.
Because the first movie, at least it came in at a crucial point in the movie, and you're like,
it happened 3 times, and you were like, okay, those 3 times like make sense. And it's like, oh, do we actually know who they're talking to is like the real person?
The second movie, it was like every time they would zoom in on the face, like, oh, it's not actually him, it's another fucking person with a mask on. Every 10 fucking minutes, it was the same.
They
over
used
and
it
over and over, and I was like, come on.
It's like they specifically got him to just do the mask thing.
It was just like, hey, you know what?
We
don't want to take the time to come up with new ideas, so we're just going to use this one to death and hope people don't realize it. Like it ruins like the thrill of the movie.
So this movie here, again starring Tom Cruise, Dougray Scott, who you want to say thank you to this guy, okay? You might not like his performance in this movie, and we'll get to him, but you want to say thank you to him, and you want to say thank you to this movie, because if this movie did not exist, then that would have been your Wolverine. He was originally cast as Wolverine, but couldn't do it because it was conflicted with
Dougray
the schedule,
Scott?
but it was conflicting with Mission
Oh,
Impossible 2.
God.
So
Well, thank God.
this
Way
movie,
to go.
so this movie, thanked
That
you
would've made
from
the extra-
saved
Shout
you from
out
a
all the
horrible
Hugh
Wolverine.
Jackman.
That
Thank you.
movie
Shout
would've
out
flopped
all
so
Hugh
hard.
Jackman fans ever. I think thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Also stars Tandy Newton and we'll talk about Tandy Newton. Ving Rhames, Brendan Gleeson in a role that why is he even here? The nice coat guy from Batman Begins, who's also the villain in Taken 2. He was the doctor that kept showing up in like flashbacks and stuff. This was one of the big cinematic events of the year 2000. This had the highest opening weekend gross of any movie in
People just
2000,
want it.
and it was the number 3 highest grossing movie of 2000 domestically. What were the 2 movies that beat it?
2000?
2000. 2000.
I was gonna say, you forgot.
Not the year 200. They weren't making movies back then.
See, not the Legend of
we're looking
Bagger
at-
Vance.
Memento?
No, not the. I
That was
love
also a
no.
good
That was
sports movie.
2001. No,
No,
Legend of
it's
Bagger.
just 2000.
We had this conversation on the
Google-
Memento review.
Google
how the
says-
I still
festival.
think you're wrong.
it-
I still think you're wrong.
Google
I still
says
think
it.
you could eat my ass, but
Oh, Castaway. Castaway.
Yeah.
that's one.
Yes.
Okay. This is gonna be
You're
a
gonna
shot.
say some
A shot
dumb
in the
shit.
dark. A
You're
shot
gonna
in the
say some
dark.
dumb shit.
Remember the Titans.
Nope. Gladiator.
Oh, that wasn't
Gladiator.
stupid, but it
Gladiator.
was wrong. That one is also wrong.
What?
Wow. Then
How
it's
was
Hamlet. Is it
Wow.
Hamlet?
No, it's not fucking Hamlet.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you really are
Oh.
saying some stupid shit.
Well, Hamlet. Okay, hold on. Hamlet could have been like what? What are we talking about? American Psycho.
I mean, clearly,
No.
Fuck.
clearly, it was the Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
No.
clearly. Joseph, King of Dreams.
Unbreakable.
No.
Scary
Hamlet was
movie.
number 181
Remember the
on the
Titans?
list,
I
Brandon.
remember
love
the
Hamlet
motherfucking
being number 181.
All right, you guys have
Mitchell, was it
officially.
Remember the Titans?
Yeah, we don't. I don't know.
No.
Was it not Remember
Was
the
it
Titans?
Chicken Run?
Then
Chicken
No.
Run was a
if
classic.
you say,
If I say what,
I was
Hamlet,
gonna say if you say Sherlock Holmes, but no.
that movie came out in
No,
2009.
not that Sherlock Holmes. There's another Sherlock Holmes.
It was How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
That's dumb.
What?
That is dumb.
It was the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That was
I
the
mean,
highest
that- I
grossing
mean-
movie of 2000.
That's a way
Bullshit.
better. That's a way better movie
That
than
beat
people
out
give it credit
Gladiator?
for. Yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, that made more.
Yeah.
I'm
Jim,
now
Jim
offended.
Carrey.
No,
No,
I gotta
I
be
think that
honest.
movie's. I think that movie's
No,
horrible.
no, I
but
gotta be honest. Mitchell's opinion on that movie is wrong. That movie is like
bad.
it's in the good category, but like not a high good.
No,
It's
It's a
good
good-
if.
No, it's a good Christmas movie, but also Mitchell doesn't like Christmas movies, so it doesn't count.
What the fuck?
Well, he'll
I love
argue,
Christmas movies.
He'll argue
What are you
that Die
smoking?
Hard is like his favorite movie ever as a Christmas movie.
You
I
said one
love-
time that you hated Christmas movies, so I said, "Oh, we'll do
What?
an episode about Christmas movies."
No,
that
the
aren't
only thing that I don't like about Christmas movies is I feel like
You're
I don't
just-
like movies. I don't like movies where I feel like I can only watch them in like a span of 20 days. You
That's
know,
fair. No, that's a good point. I mean,
because
that
at
is
what other
Christmas
time
movies
of
are
the
about.
year am I going to sit down and be like, oh,
What other time are you gonna put on? He's Mister. He buys.
Dude, I watch that. Every
like, when am I going to
fucking
watch
day.
I
Rudolph
know.
the
I do.
Red-Nosed
I
Reindeer?
do too. I would
When
watch
am I
every
gonna?
July.
When am I ever gonna watch Home Alone in June? I'm not gonna do that.
Mitchell,
Dude,
you're
have
just
you ever
lucky.
not been home alone and be like, "Yo, I should put on Home
Yeah,
Alone
true.
and feel the vibes"?
Mitchell,
No,
I'm
because I
gonna
just watched
say,
it for the first time this Christmas.
You're lucky I didn't. You're lucky I didn't say Leprechaun in the Hood, because that is like a low key.
We're moving on. We're moving on. Once we get to Leprechaun in the Hood.
Leprechaun in the
moving
Hood
on.
2
All
is
right.
like an actual classic. Moving on.
So this movie, weirdly enough, kind of has a lot in common-ish with No Time to Die. In that it's all about like this spy trying to keep this virus from getting out into the wild, and except No Time to Die is good And this,
Wow.
I liked this movie less on rewatch,
Just
and I didn't like
say-
it very much the first time I
Yeah.
watched it. This movie is so
Just say your
stylistic
opinion
to a
right off the
point
bat.
that it's almost comical. In fact, no,
Yeah.
it's not almost comical. It is comical. Where you got the slow mo and the cars are going, and when they're Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton are like chasing after each other, and they're both kind of spinning in unison together, and their hair's both blowing in the breeze, and then you got of course the John Woo, you got the doves going later in the movie. It's too much. It's too much, and that the plot isn't good enough. The villains, Dougray Scott is horrible.
There was no villain in this movie. It was so
Wh- Who's the villain? What?
Dougray,
bad.
I don't think he. I don't think he's a
Sean
villain.
Amber. What
I
the
don't think he's
fuck?
a villain. Like, there's no villain. Like, there's no one scary in this movie. They just
Well, yeah,
they
sure.
can't shoot. They can't shoot straight, and they don't know what they're fucking doing.
And I'm sorry, they just completely butchered Brendan Gleeson and Anthony Hopkins in this movie.
Oh,
Like, you have
Anthony
two-
Hopkins
You had
was in
two
the.
phenomenal actors, and you just wasted them in this film.
Go watch the
I was
trailer
gonna say,
to
why
this
should
movie.
he even be in this movie?
Why
Go
was
watch
he
the
like
tra-
the headline of the trailer?
Go watch the trailer to this movie. You'd think that Anthony Hopkins had like half of this, like had almost as much screen time as Tom
probably
Cruise
used him
did.
to get people to come see the movie, and
Yeah.
people probably left super.
My
disappointed.
man was in Silence of the Lambs. Was like the goat of Silence of the Lambs, and they were like, we have a chance to use someone like this, and we just don't. Like,
And he wasn't even for a menacing role. Why not throw him in as a fucking
I
villain?
liked
Why
Anthony
not make
Hopkins in
him-
the movie.
why not make him a villain? at
He
that
was
point?
fine, Blake. He didn't have any importance really.
If he was a Russian mob boss, do you even blink an eye?
Honestly,
I think
take
it's awesome. I think it's
character
awesome
and
if he
Ridley
is.
Scott's character, flip him, and the movie would have been 10 times better.
Mm.
I will die on that
I
hill.
can't even like argue with that. I think that might be the correct take.
Because having
Eh.
him be that menacing character that's literally got to hold the world hostage.
I don't even dislike his character, like you said, Mitchell. I actually think he's fine. But it's like, if you're gonna get Anthony Hopkins, just use him.
I don't dislike their characters. I just feel like they just didn't use them enough. And like
Yeah,
Brendan
no, they
Gleeson
gave
is big
way
actor
too
as
much
well.
screen time to like Tandy Newton's
Oh, he's
character.
also
I
in
don't
How the
think
Good-
she's necessarily doing a bad job, but they give her just like the most stereotypical ass role.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think they tried very hard to make this a Bond movie and make her a Bond girl.
Yes.
Mm,
yes,
She's like the side girl to the villain, but also, hooking up with Bond and like going on an adventure with him at the same time, and like has an importance. But at the same
but
time, you don't
Ethan
really care
Hunt.
what happens to that person.
Ethan Hunt isn't a let me just sleep around
not
with
a
everyone type of
That's what I'm saying.
character.
They that's what I'm saying. Like, they tried to make it like a Bond movie, it just didn't work.
No, it didn't work for that at all. And again,
Thank God they got away from that. You know what I mean?
yes, exactly. Because like Tom Cruise, I don't know, Tommy. I don't know if you've seen like the most recent Mission Impossible movies.
I have
He is surrounded by fine chicks, like 99%.
I
of the
know
movie.
I know the cast of the new movies. I've just never actually seen them.
But like, it's not
Like Haley
like,
Atwell.
yeah, but it doesn't go like that. And
No.
I'm not saying that those Bond movies were bad for being what they were. You know, I love Skyfall. I love Casino
But that's
Royale.
like-
I love GoldenEye.
But
You know,
James-
like there's some great
James
Bond
Bond has-
movies.
James Bond has claimed that niche. His character is all like that's what his character is. To take a character like Ethan Hunt and have him like just completely flip from 1 to 2, it just doesn't work.
There was one scene with him because I don't think Tom Cruise is doing a bad job, except for at the beginning when he's trying so hard to be like the preening playboy. And I don't think that works for him or this character at all. But
It
there
doesn't.
is one scene where him and Tandy Newton are having a kind of heated discussion, and Tom Cruise says, "Would it make you feel better if you knew that I didn't want you to do this?" And she says, "Yes." And then he goes, "Then feel better." and I
Honestly,
just kind of felt that line.
the cringiest scene was when the two of them like hook up in like the beginning of the movie, and you just have him just like staring at you on the screen. Like
Oh
I was
yeah,
like, oh no,
Oh,
I don't want to be looking at this right
I
now.
almost
he didn't.
melted. I was like, and not in a good way. It was like I wanted to get away from this. Not like, oh, my heart. Oh
It's
man,
tough to say. I didn't think Tom Cruise had the charisma to pull that off. I don't know whether the writing let him down, the
should have fast
directing let him
forward through the
down.
scene. Like, my
Yeah,
God.
I don't know what it was. It just didn't work, and it made me feel uncomfortable watching. I'm like, no,
I
just
felt like
skip
I
this.
was. I felt like I was watching an old sex tape of my parents, and
Oh my
I'm like, I
Lord.
don't want to be here.
That's the comparison you made. Oh my
I
God.
don't want to be here. Can we please turn the
I mean,
VCR
I
off?
really tried to like fast forward through the scene for a second, but I was like, no, I gotta watch it for like the review. I gotta give my grade accurately. But I feel like if I had skipped through that scene, it would have been a much better movie. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not. I don't feel this movie at all. The movie's just not good. Plain and
The
simple.
plot's stupid. I
Can I say
thought
that the last 40 minutes in the movie? What are we doing?
I thought that the final fight between Tom
Yes,
Cruise and Dougray Scott was the most. And again, Tom Cruise again with I'm not going to let this girl die. I don't care
yeah.
what I have to do because that's again integral to Ethan Hunt's character. But the problem is you're told that these two have this big connection, and I never felt that at all.
There was no connection whatsoever. There was no chemistry.
I have more
What's
connection with like an eraser than they
but,
do.
but
I mean, like, this eraser might end
honestly,
this soon. Like,
the opening to the scene was the opening to this movie was cool with him climbing the rocks. Like, oh shit, like
no,
he's
no,
got
no. Can we
That
say?
was a
Can we
yeah.
say
that was a
that
cool opening.
stunt? That stunt was sick. And then when you
Yes,
look it up and you're like, oh,
but that's the
like
thing. Like,
I know he was on a safety cable, but still, like this dude's free climbing on a side of a
He
mountain, on the
had
side of a
he
rock.
had he had a harness,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he did not have a safety net.
yeah. No, but he had the cable, like he had the harness with the cable, but still, like
yeah,
he's free. He's free
but
climbing
like
on the side of a
they
rock.
started
Like
this
he's a
movie off
freak.
on such a cool note, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be a pretty sick movie. Like they're starting off like,
Yeah.
and he's got the luscious hair going. You're like, all right, he's gonna be pretty like badass and
He
awesome.
pulls him. He pulls himself
He's
up
he's
by his
flowing with
body weight.
charisma, and then the whole rest of the hour and a half just kind of slowly dragged on. You're like, oh, this is terrible. And then the second he lands on that island, like him climbing back up, like, oh, that's why they showed him climbing up a mountain in the beginning of the movie because he's gonna have to do it again to save the girl. Like,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense.
So
But
I've
then
got a little bit of
you just see him charging people. Like that's where like, all right, these are the cool stunts. Like him just charging, him using the pigeons to like round the corner and take the other guy out. Like it was
you're gonna
absolutely
get that
I
absurd,
with
but
gotta
John
it
be
was
Woo.
cool at
honest.
the same time.
I mean, we can be honest about this. Tom Cruise is the best runner in movies.
Yes,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
I think he has it in his contract that he has to have at least one or two scenes of him just full sprint.
Just
Yep,
full sprint. Yeah, yeah.
especially
Someone
in
on
these movies.
Twitter, like did like a master cut of like all the movies he's ever like sprinted in, and it is just like glorious to watch. It
It's
is just like
fantastic.
10 seconds of like him just sprinting in like
What
every
is the
movie.
movie of him sliding? Is that Jerry
A
Maguire?
movie of him sliding.
That might be Jerry Maguire.
Risky Business.
Is that
Yeah,
Risky
where
Business?
The
he's
one
in
where
his
he's in his
boxer t-shirt,
pajamas.
like sliding across. Yeah, that
Risky
movie.
Business.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a great movie.
They should have had it where every movie where he runs like that, it should end in him doing the risky business part. It would make it 1,000
Like
times better.
around the corner, just like
Yes.
slide. And
Like him just running into the room and just sliding, like, here I am, Tom Cruise, ready to go.
I don't want
That's-
to bring back other characters, but if they would have dropped Emilio Estevez like in this movie and been like, "Oh, he's actually alive," I would have been like, "That's sick," but they didn't. So
Yeah. That
oh
would be a
man.
cool reveal.
And to be honest, we'll get to it. I think they do that in later movies. They might drop some people in just
But
randomly.
the one
I
thing
can't remember exactly, but yeah, it's just like
Yeah. The one thing that took me out of the ending, because I was loving it so much, I was like, all right, this is actually pretty badass, was them all of a sudden pulling the fucking mask move again. I'm like, so he's carrying around random
That's
people.
what I'm saying. The last 40 minutes, like, what are we doing?
Like, that makes no fucking sense. Like, when did he have the time to make all these random people's masks? How did he make the mask? Like, they don't explain it, and I'm just took me
I
out of the
don't
scene.
think they ever explain it. Do they ever
They,
explain
they,
the mask like
they
in the
don't,
entire series? In the
unless they
entire
do in the
series,
future movies. I don't know, but it's like
Mitchell, do you remember if they explain the mask? They never explain the mask, do they?
They
It's
do
just like they
something
do
really
it.
cool with the mask in a movie that comes later. I will say
Okay,
that,
that's fine.
but
Okay, but like, are we doing like Master of None? Or are we doing like Mission Impossible? Like are we doing Face Off? Or are we doing Mission Impossible? Like, I just don't understand the mask. I just
yeah,
don't. Oh man,
sometimes
it's
it
like
definitely felt like
because like
that.
the whole time when like he was like holding his mouth shut. I was like, oh, maybe he's got a grenade in his mouth or something. And he's gonna do something fucking crazy
yeah,
at
that
the
would
end.
have been sick if
And
he
then
was
they
just
do
like,
the zoom in on the face. It's like, oh fuck, it's a goddamn mask again. And then they show it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how many times are you
oh,
gonna use this in the
he's
movie?
closed his mouth the entire time. He's got a clothespin in it, and he's gonna spit it out and then like pick a lock or something. I
Honestly,
was
that's
like, oh,
like,
this
I
is
thought
sick.
he was gonna do something like that, but no, it was a fucking face mask again.
What
So
did you
that's my biggest gripe with
expect?
this movie.
Well,
Too
we
many,
expected not to have too many mask reveals, and that's the.
they
I
had
mean,
way too many.
what is
But
real at this
knowing
point?
that
Man?
this guy directed Face Off, now it makes more sense. He
Dude,
was like, let's
Exactly.
I think they called him. They like, okay, this is what happened. I don't actually know, but this is what happened. Robert Town was writing the movie, and they were like, we have a lot of mask reveals in this movie. Who can we get to do this right? Oh, that's right. John Woo did Face Off. Let's do that. Oh man, that has to be it. That has to be it. I just don't. Story
No,
by
I
Brandon
think
Braga
John Woo
and
contacted
Ronald D.
Tom
Moore.
Cruise and was like, "Hey, I can make your face off so much better. Let me direct your next
I
movie."
can make him look at your mask reveals actually pop. Oh man.
So,
Oh.
with this movie, the final fight scene between Ethan Hunt and the
Which we
villain,
all agree is like probably the best part of the movie.
one of the
Yeah.
best, yeah, if
Oh
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
Oh,
best,
and
other
don't
than
get
the
me
opening
started.
with Tom Cruise climbing.
Don't get me started on the fucking grenade with the door, and then him just slowly walking with slow motion across the doorway, and the pigeon flies through. Like, what the fuck is that?
But
It's a mechanical pigeon. Right? Nice.
Tom
Yeah,
Cruise wanted a real knife to be used for the fight. The knife was attached to a cable and carefully measured to stop a quarter of an inch from Tom Cruise's eyeball, and Cruise
I
asked
knew it.
Scott to pull his full strength down on the knife to get a realistic look for the scene.
When I was watching that scene, I was like, yeah, it's definitely a real
Bravo,
knife.
bravo.
But
I mean,
also,
you gotta be careful with that stuff because we saw someone almost got lawsuited to death for
yeah,
fake props.
there was a
so.
lot of tension, and not the type that was portrayed in the movie, between Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton on the shooting of this movie. Uh, Tom Cruise heavily stressed over the expectations of the sequel being good and was upset during the shooting of the balcony scene because she had, quote, the shittiest lines. Uh,
But how is that her
looking
fault?
looking back on that day, Tandy Newton said about Cruise, "Bless him," and I really do mean bless him because he was trying his damnedest. So I think he was just frustrated with the script
Probably.
Is
'Cause
that
you
why
can't-
Robert
because
Town does
it
not
is
touch?
bad.
Is this why Robert Town does not touch this franchise the rest of the time?
Let's see what else has
It might
Robert
be
Town
right.
done.
It might be
R.I.P.
right.
By the way.
By the way, they
Um,
just took David Kep like off of it. They were like, I guess he's not doing this anymore.
let's see. He didn't do a whole lot after this. I mean, he did
To
Days of
Cruise into his
Thunder.
career. Well, that's a Cruise movie.
The Firm. So he's
That's a
worked with
good.
Tom Cruise before. Oh,
Those are good Cruise movies.
the big one for him was that he wrote Chinatown. And when you write Chinatown, which I have not seen Chinatown, but I've heard
You can do what
Chinatown
you
is
want.
an all-time classic.
Yeah, if you write Chinatown, you can like do what you want.
You have what they call carte blanche.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you
might
can
have
fuck up
lost it.
time and
You might
time
have
again.
lost it after this.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Akiva Goldsman's fucked up so much. He's like, "Hey, I wrote A Beautiful Mind," and that's not even as good as Chinatown, as a lot of people say. So,
Interesting.
yeah, not a whole lot to talk about with Mission Impossible 2 as far as quality goes, because I don't think it gave me too much. The fact that people really packed in like sardines to see this movie in 2000 is insane to me. But
4 years after the first one, right? Like 4 years
Yeah.
after. That's kind of
yeah,
the timing of these movies are kind of insane for like a
And then you would get
continuous
6
franchise.
more years
Yeah.
until the third one came out.
Then
So
5, then another 4. Like it's a lot.
yeah,
I guess there's a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears going into this, which
these movies
good
take a
for them.
lot of time and effort to make.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, you want to grade us? Well, not grade us. Please don't grade me.
No, great.
But
I mean,
you
yeah,
get
great
A
us.
plus 100%, baby.
that is far, far higher than I deserve.
I'm gonna have to go
You can stay in the C's. It's okay.
no. I was originally in the D plus range.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm gonna be that harsh on it. So let's
Well,
go.
what's your
C.
opinion?
I'm like right on the cusp. Let's go C minus like 5%. Like it's like at the bottom.
Okay, I'm also in the C minus range. C minus 15.3.
Well, Tommy,
Mitchell, what do you have
I
to say?
am going to go in the D plus range,
Wow,
and,
that is
comfortably
tough.
so. D plus,
Comfortably.
58.14%.
I mean, what's the
by the
point
way,
of doing this movie then?
by the way, we talked about how The Grinch Stole Christmas and how I didn't like that. I have that at a D plus 64.62. Very close to it, but above this movie. So yeah, I really and this movie's also 2 hours and 4 minutes long.
It
It's
was
not
way too
paced
fucking
well.
long.
Yeah, I just
I'm so glad that
Yeah,
I saw
not
these
great.
two movies because it affirms my belief that I don't always believe that everything should be like 20 or 30
Dude,
minutes
it took
longer.
me 3
Because
nights.
this movie
to
should have
get
been
through
20
this
minutes too short. Like it should have been 20 minutes shorter. Is what it should have been.
I thought you were gonna say it affirms my belief that not all movies should be good.
Yeah, no. I was gonna
Like,
say
why?
20
Should
to
be
30
bad.
minutes longer because I was on a
Because you
streak where
need bad movies to make good
yeah,
movies
No,
look even
that's
no,
better.
true. You do.
I
you
agree
do,
with that.
You do.
You need to watch movies, but I think the people that make the movies should try to make them good.
No. But I've been on a kick where on all these podcasts I've been saying, well, it could have been 30 minutes longer. In this instance for these two movies,
30
You have
minutes.
been.
20 minutes too long, honestly. Like we could have gone shorter if we really wanted to.
I
That's
fully
more than
agree.
fair. All right. Well, the first 2 Mission Impossible movies are in the book, and look at that. We did that in under an hour. That just lets you know that
Well,
we really weren't crazy about these movies. That's the telltale sign. You can just tell by the runtime and go, they must not have liked it very much. But next up, Mission Impossible 3 and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I've never seen Mission Impossible 3. So this will be my first time watching it. And the fourth one, that's when we really start getting into the Tom Cruise stunts and kind of the revitalization of this franchise. So I'm really excited to talk about both of those movies with you guys next week. Looking forward to it. Tune back in for more Mission Impossible as we get you ready for Mission Impossible, the final, last, probably not last reckoning. Have a good night or afternoon or whatever the hell.